Greetings, friends, and welcome to part 3 of my pirate cannon mortar build. This is actually my second time recording this lovely piece of footage because the whole first sequence was recorded and my microphone was dead. So it ended up being like 15 minutes of just wind, or what is a close approximation. Regardless, we're going to get right into this. First of all, you're going to need to get some 1/4-inch foam. We're going to work on the wheels first. And you're cutting this into 3-inch wide strips, and you want to take a sander and knock this back off. This is short from what you actually need it. For the 11-inch wheels, you need about 33 inches, and I'll show you that when I get to that spot there. Now, you're going to use a sanding disc or sanding drum on a Dremel to do these marks. Always run right or left to right, because if not, it wants to dig in and, destroy your foam. So whenever you're working, always remember, left to right, you want to make sure that the direction of the bit is going right. Now, all you're going to do for the actual texture here is, as you can see, excuse the noise, but you'll see how I go about making it. So, you can see how the divots make it look like the metal's been hammered. It's a really quick and fun way of doing it. Then once you've got your whole piece of foam done, you can take your heat gun, set it to high, and really hit this, because you want to seal that foam. And I'll show you the difference of where you want to be to where it actually is. You're going to get this hot, so don't be too afraid of it. Okay, there's where we want to be. So you'll see now how there is a gloss. See, this over here is matte, and over here is gloss. That is the finish we're looking for the foam. This allows it to take spray paint really well. Now, like I said, I'd gone through this whole thing once to show you exactly on how these things work. But now you kind of get the truncated version of like me going, surprise, this is how it's going. So right here is the material after it's been spray painted. Now, I used satin nickel satin nickel. I'm so good at picking something up and always showing the French side. I don't know why. It's just like, it's like unnaturally a chance that I hit that. Anyways, satin nickel, and what I do is I spray the side here. I flip it over, I spray the other side, and then very lightly I go through the center. And what it does is it gives you a very unique color profile on this, where the divots are still darker than the rest of it, and it makes it look really nice. So I'll be right back while I wait for my rubber cement to dry, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, we're going to be putting on the actual metal track onto the wheels. So all I do is, using rubber cement, I coat both sides and wait for it to get pretty tacky before I'm ready to use it. I'm going to zoom out here, make my life a little bit easier. So when you're putting this on, all you're kind of doing is eyeballing about middle. It's not the end of the world. And you start running this around, trying to keep that as central as possible on the whole thing. If you go outside, the foam allows you to bring it back a little bit, so don't be too stressed out if it's not perfect. Now you're going to keep on going all the way around. Now, this is where you do have to be careful, because you want these ends to line up. So as you bring this in, I use both thumbs, and I kind of visualize where it's going to line up. And just like that, we're done. Isn't that great? Even with the overlap? No. So with the overlap, what you're going to do is you're going to take your knife and you're going to fire past the point where it overlaps. You can hit the foam a little bit, but you dig right through both. And you'll know when you get through, because the feeling of the foam is very different to that of the actual styrofoam. So you reach into here and you negotiate that piece out. But what that'll do is it'll make sure that your cut is absolutely perfectly correct, so it disappears onto your tire. And what I'm going to do, and what I have been doing, is I noticed on my old Canon that this EVA foam wanted to roll up because I used pins. I got some 2¼ inch nails. I just pick a spot that's right about there, and using my finger, I push it in and countersink it so it doesn't scratch floors if it's sticking up. Repeat all the way in, and I do 4 just to make sure that it really holds well. And it adds to the authenticity and the look as if the metal has actually been riveted down onto the wheel. Then you just go around pushing with your finger on each side, and voila, your wheel is finished with a really nice rollable surface. And I don't like rolling on the styrofoam directly because it gets damaged easy. This stuff is a lot more resilient, and that's how you end up with your wheels. So I'm going to go finish all 4 wheels, and I'll be back to talk about some other small things we're going to do. Right, now we're going to be making some foam buffer pads that go between the wheel, the axle. It's going to go on the axle, but it's going to go between the wheel and the cannon. So if this thing gets rolled, you don't have this foam surface here rubbing against another foam surface, which will destroy it. So I'm going to use my handy dandy circle drawing template, and I'm going to draw 2 circles. I'm going to get this to the right spot about here, and we're going to go a 6-inch circle. Of course, those little things are going to cause me havoc. We're going to draw a 6-inch circle, and if it lets me, oh man, those little teeth are just really causing me some issues here. Okay, well, again, I only need to draw one of these because after that I'll use it as a template. And then the next thing you need is a 4-inch circle, which will be the size of the axle, if it's ever going to let me do this. There we go. We have the technology. Just sometimes I wonder if I have the patience. You know what? I think I'm going to make that a tiny bit bigger. So let's go to a 7-inch circle. So, you know, you can watch me struggle all over again trying to draw that extra circle. Okay. Oh, there we go. Nothing but for the professionalism for you. So there's our circles. Ignore that outside one. This is a 7-inch circle, and then this is a 4-inch circle. Now, because the outside diameter on this pipe is ever so slightly bigger than 4 inches, and we don't want it to be a bind point, we're just going to quickly draw. I'm going to put a piece of the axle pipe down, and then draw around it. And now we've got 18 million circles, of which we get to choose which one we want to use. Anyways, no, we're not going to cut this one. We're going to cut that one. And we're going to cut that one. Okay. I'm going to go make 4 of these and cut them out. I'll be right back. Now you have all your happy rings made. And it's just a matter of assembly. Is you'll throw one of these rings on the end. You can do it after, actually. And then take your tire. Make sure you get the best side out that you like the most. Lovingly and gently insert it on, and that is our axle. I'm going to adjust this when it's in with the cannon, and then just do the same thing on the other side. But in reality, these rings, they pop on. Doesn't matter which way you put them, because of the cut in them, they'll fit regardless. That one's for some reason got a bit of a bigger split on it. Okay, check this one. I like this texture side better. And then we lovingly condense that onto there, like so. And like that, we have the full axle. And you see these, when they're against the styrofoam, will allow it to spin and rub without wrecking either side. Anyways, next step is we're going to work on the hasp, which you see back there. Because this is my second time recording it, you get a sneak peek of what it looks like. See it in view. So now you can see that the wheels are fully installed. Now, this part here is a bit of a rodeo. You can do this if you want, or you can just glue pieces of foam onto the axle to not really hold that in place, but just to give it that look like it's pinned. This is 3/4 inch dowel, and I drilled right through the actual axle, and you can see I actually caused a little bit of damage doing so. That was hard, and it's really hard to line up. So unless you are really confident, don't do that part. Do something that makes it look similar to that. And heck, on the other side, one of these is completely off kilter, but I'm going to call it character. You know, using a hand brace back then to drill all these holes, they could be a little bit off. Anyways, And then I just stained it with some walnut stain to make it look nice. And the color difference is really slick. Now, we're going to go start working on. So the shackles are going to be built out of the leftover styrofoam that we had from the base of the cannon. And there should be some left because there's a lot to cut out there. You need a piece that's about 14 inches wide by about 5 inches tall. If you don't have it exact, you can muck around with this a little bit. And the other thing you need is one of your templates for the half circle that you will be using to match up with the trunnion on the cannon. So in reality, what you can do is you can start by drawing this circle in place, and then you want your distance here to be about 1 inch at all times because it gives the styrofoam strength. Once you've got that part done, go cut it out however you see fit, and then using the same technique we did on the EVA foam metal, you just go through and you put in 100 or so divots in this thing. Do a little bit on the side, but not as intense as the top. You can do as little or as much here as you want. It is up to you. I like it looking a little bit rougher, so that's how it ended up. And then using a heat gun, you hit it and it'll soften out all of these hits so it looks a bit more natural. And of course, this is going to be going right there, and it'll finish off that top beautifully and make it feel like it all belongs. Now, the one thing you'll see here, this is from the old cannon, and same thing. That's exactly how we're going to turn it out, but this hole is a bit bigger from the big cannon because that was a 4.5 inch trunnion on it instead of the 4 1/8 that we have here. Anyways, I'm going to go through. I'm going to get both these done. We'll come back and talk about sealing and painting. So now you see the fully heat-treated version of both of the shackles. You also notice it's got the rivet heads in. You can do bolt heads. You can do whatever you want. These ones here were styrofoam. You can do them as styrofoam. I just happened to run out of those size of styrofoam balls. So I ended up getting a piece of my round dowel stock and then just taking it into the bandsaw and chamfering the top a little bit, then sanding it to give it a very rough and tumble look. Then using a Forstner bit, depending on the size of both your dowel, and mainly based on the size of your dowel, you just use the Forstner bit to put that hole in. Now, when you go to do the styrofoam, make sure this is running full speed when you hit the styrofoam, because if not, it'll tear it rather than drill it. So once you've got that done, you've got a couple of these made. These will just insert on in. And just like that, we've got our finished hasps. Well, the sculpting part of it done. Now, the only other thing we're going to do is put on the latex and acrylic mix so we can paint this. So I'm going to put that on. I'm going to base coat this in brown, and then I'm going to be painting them into this type of silver color or whatever spray paint I have on hand. But I'll let you know when I get there. Anyways, you'll see them finished next. We are now going to be moving on to the designs that go on the side, just underneath the trommel, not the trommel, that thing, the trunnion. It goes down, and I'll get into that right away. Now, we're going to be doing the side trim. Right off the bat, you will find this template added to the previous download. So if you've downloaded the Canon schematic before, you can just log back in on your account, and this will be available as well, added to the files that you can download. Now, what you're going to see on this, you're going to have this one with a line up here, and it's going to say 8 inches, and on this one, it's going to say 9 inches. All that means is when you draw the template, you want to add 9 inches of length here. Now, right at the end, you'll see how this is curved, but I don't mention it anywhere. Using this upper curve, once you have your two on this one, 9 inches, just use this piece, and you draw across, and it'll create that curve, because this matches up to there when it's done. So all you're doing is just making sure that the curve matches. Now, this is once again the 1/4 inch EVA foam, and I have arranged it like so. Oh, just one quick thing. On this one, you want to double up the template. So when you do it, draw it, flip it over, do it, and then this is 8 inches. It just gives you how you want it to look. I do my templates out of wood because just don't. I've got the wood around, so I prefer to do that because then I can save them for later on if I decide to make another cannon. And then you trace them onto the EVA foam. And as you can see here, this is the best layout because there's very little foam wasted. So now just using a sharp knife, you cut this out. And once you got all your pieces finished, we're going to now move through and we're going to attach them to here. So enjoy the assembly. And before I forget, I'm just using a light wood glue on the backs. And when you put it on, put it in about 1/4 to 1/2 inch because you don't want this glue going out the side when we actually attach it. And now to finish it up, we're going to use this exact same thing I did on the hasps with the wood to make the bolts for this. This is fully optional. I just really like how it looks. There we go. I'm gonna glue all them on and then we'll age it up later. But anyways, that puts the side trim to bed. Now, you can see that the shackles are all finished painted and done beautifully up. Once the dark bronze paint was put on, I used just some black acrylic to do some aging, to add some highlights to everything around here. I did the exact same thing down here with all of the black to bring up to just darken it up that little bit so it didn't look as clean. And once again on the wheel. Now, these shackles here, on my other cannon, I made them out of styrofoam, and if you want to make them out of styrofoam, you can. If not, these ones are on my website as a 3D printable file, which I really like because I just pretty much said, print 4 of them, and it went off and running. That will bring this cannon to a technical close on where you want to go. Now, there's some extra stuff that you can do. Actually, one thing you do have to do. This little wedge right here, it's just a piece of styrofoam that's been finished up as normal with a piece of rope here to be what you would use to pull out the wedge. This is what they use to set the cannon angle. So when you go to build it, very simple triangle wedge. I don't think I need to go over it too much. But I will go over this a bit more. This lovely lion head is using the same technique up here that I did on the trilobite fossil. It's just air dry clay or air dry foam on a piece of styrofoam that I finished all up and then textured the top of it with the back of the tool to make it look like it was hammered metal, and then painted silver in the exact same way that I did this. I put it on. It's an extra thing, but it's up to you. But I think that turned out pretty cool. Anyways, that brings this prop to a finish, and boy, this one has taken me a long time to get finished. Just life got in the way so much on this one. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed the build. I'm going to try making my videos shorter with less description. I got to figure out how to do it a bit better because I feel I'm losing some of you for the length of the videos that I'm doing, and I don't mean to. I just like to describe the thought process behind things. Regardless, a big thanks to all of my subscribers, all of my viewers, and remember, please like and subscribe to the video. It helps a ton, pushes out to more people, and it helps me greatly. And a really big thanks to my patrons who give me a little bit each month to help me along with all of these crazy projects. Anyways, I hope you are all enjoying spring coming in. We're over halfway to Halloween, and, well, it depends on when you watch this, so I'll be right most of the time. Regardless, have a good one all.